We are now live.
We are now live.
Hello.
Happy New Year. It's good to have you back.
Thank you, Astrid.
Welcome, everybody. That I'm so glad you got to go home to France after you hadn't been home in 10 or 12 years.
No, a year and a half.
A year and a half.
A year.
No, but a holiday, though.
Holiday, you're right.
Holiday. I remember
I
holiday.
Yeah, it's Christmas time.
Yeah.
And New Year, it was wonderful. And I hope I know yours was
great, yeah.
But
what's great is our last conversation was about this generational trauma.
Yes.
And we talked about the source. So it was fascinating to me that you were then heading back to your home,
yes,
your place of origin, because we know that plays into the generational trauma
as we talk.
And also so does family gatherings. You know, we just came off of the holidays, and that can bring up, you know, the crazy uncle, the aunt, whatever, seeing the parents, the grandparents, whatever that is. So it can be good news, bad news, right?
And it's what we just talked to have this conversation today, the generational trauma and how to set up your intention. Nice.
Hi, Donna. Welcome. Hey, Andrew.
I like when you do that.
Hey, Andrew. Welcome. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome. Thanks for joining. So
how we set up, like I like how you started that, how when I went home, how I set up my intention with how to be there with family, with stories, and it's amazing when you do your self-development regarding all of that, how you can set up actually a good intention, how to have a different perspective on how you are within your family.
Yeah, because you made a choice, you made an intention. I'm going there. I mean, I know your mom was a focus in her healing path.
Yes.
You were going there to be in support. So
yes,
in a way you kind of, and this is the thing about the mind, because, you know, there's 5 levels of energy. We know the physical, but the mind, the thoughts are a level of energy as well.
Yes.
That people forget about. And sometimes it seems oversimplified, but you can decide. You can make a choice. And at least, even if it's for a window of time, you know, maybe you felt some type of way when you got back or whatever, but at least in that present moment, I felt like you did a good job of thinking of your mom. And I think you also went into gratitude of just being able to be home at the holidays, like not having been there for 10 years.
Yes, at that moment. And thank you for saying that. You know, that's what we're trying to bring when you do your self-development and your healing. I was appreciative. I was in gratitude. And I thought, I'm going to have a good time.
Yes.
And it's amazing what your energy brings even to the table. There were a few, you know, there's always few conversations who start going a little, and then I just kindly, you can reset. I mean, when you are at peace, when you're at peace, physically, mentally, you reset those moments. That's when the conversation can shift, because I'm not getting upset. I decided we all decided we'll have a good Christmas.
Yes.
And it's beautiful. I mean, I experienced, it was great. And I ate and I had the good time.
Oh, it's France, the food, the wine, the people.
All good. And
well, also too, the stories that we tell, like making that decision on, I'm having a good time, setting the intention that I'm not going to be triggered. So I think you said a family member started trying to go down a path of saying something that was bringing up basically group trauma in a way for everybody, but being able to hold this space and then pivot the conversation.
It's beautiful. It's when you are aware of all those moments.
Yes.
And your participation. Of course, I was not forcing my happiness on anybody.
Yeah.
But like you said, I like this word, you're holding the space. And then have those maybe harsher moments with other people,
Yeah.
but because they are not there yet on
Yes.
their own,
Yeah.
and try that, step back a little, like breathe. Really, it's all those tools we are showing people: breath work, yoga, healing touch. Take that moment and say, I'm good.
Yeah, in this moment, yeah, and making the decision, making the choice. A lot of
not
people
being
feel
triggered.
helpless.
And it's a process.
Yeah, it is. It's
So
a process.
I mean, not to say, Astrid, and like we are saying, it's a constant development, but I was proud of myself.
I know, you have to be. A win's a win, you got to take it. So the meaning of trauma in its Greek form, its origin is wound.
Yes.
And so as we know how wounds go, if you take care of a wound, it'll heal properly. But some wounds develop into scars. And the tough one about trauma and ancestral trauma is the wound is inside. That's like kind of the good news, bad news, because as humans, anything we can viscerally touch or have tactile connection with, we seem to always try to control and manipulate, but never for the positive way. So sometimes we do that. So if it's inside, these practices like mindfulness and breath work and meditation literally go inside to help you move forward. But people have to believe in it, because it's not like Western medicine. You take a pill in Western medicine, yes, you're going to feel the effects, but it's just masking.
It's a temporary, which we are not, like we say, it has its purpose at sometime traumatic, intense event.
Yes.
Where your whole body is in anxiety. So, but it should be temporary, because what happened, like you say, it's a wound. Your nervous system, I think it's a big part of what helps to understand. It's so trigger, the nervous system is responding always in the same way.
Yes.
So how to have that response in a different way, and resetting that nervous system with eventually without those medication, if you take some, and with the help of those other tools. It's all combining.
So how do we, I mean, it starts in the body. What people have to understand, what affects you mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, will find a place in your body. So to me, sometimes it's easier to trace, kryptonite was Superman's weakness, right?
Yeah.
And so we have our kryptonic body parts that, is always going to attach. Like I have weak shoulders. I have very weak shoulders. So my trauma may affect me in my shoulders. The back is a big one, but back is related to your root chakra and your root energy. So I think the first step is believing that it's in your body. I think that's a number one step to healing. Because people say, I just thought, or I just said, or we just had a conversation. That our body is internalized.
Yes, internalized. We are a whole person, and which way it's triggered, your thought to your body to your thought, it's always moving, it's all together. Your spiritual life, whatever is making you to find that's what you're saying, to find that place where it's always affecting you. I mean, like we mentioned with the other book, disease is it's a response to what's going on with you. So being aware and understanding. So when people working on your physical body, it's a good place always to be in there and start and calming that nervous system. So how do you do that? I mean, your shoulder, like if I take what you just said, is, it's where those emotions or whatever triggers you is going to affect that physical body. So how are you going to use that place of discomfort and reset it.
Yeah,
And
so one of
find
the
a
things
way.
I'll be like, I'll say, oh, why my shoulders? And then I go, oh yeah. And then just the awareness of it, and even sometimes not trying to fix it. So physical, that's why it's like get out in nature, take a bath, go to walk in sand, stand in the dirt, tap.
Find the tool that is going to right away. You'll know instinctively. You know what works for you. Like
Yes.
me. I need to go for a walk.
But you have to test these things out.
Test these
and
things
oftentimes
out.
people say, oh, I tried this, it didn't work. But there's 10 other things that you could try to see what works. And sometimes things don't work instantaneously.
No.
It is work. It is work.
Sadly, it's practice. And
Yeah.
we can talk. We went through our very tough moment, and I was desperate. I was like, nothing works, and my nervous system, it's still always anxious and triggered. Now, I mean, it's like you are in front of a wall sometimes. But
Yes.
you know what? I need to practice. But I knew from, like we said last time, there's always something you did as a child to go through those traumatic moments as a child. Maybe
your
go
coping
back.
mechanism.
My coping mechanism is movement, is using my body. I was doing gymnastics, and I know that helped me to release from a lot of stress. Then I couldn't do so much anymore, so I had to find other way. But practice what already feels good.
Right.
You know, some
Because
people say they meditate, but their thoughts are going, and I completely understand. I couldn't meditate and sit for even 2 minutes when I was in a very nervous state.
Yes.
So
I think patience and compassion. Sometimes I feel like we give compassion and patience for other people, but for ourselves, we hold ourselves, we freeze ourselves to a different standard, which is very strange. Particularly if you have children, you know what unconditional love can feel like.
Right.
So to pour that out, but not to save it back for yourself. And saying, because I care about my children so much, because I have a lot of responsibility, I definitely need to try. And in that efforting, it takes, it will happen eventually over time, compounded over time. But again, my yoga teacher used to say, he goes, people are still waiting for them to invent a yoga pill. He goes, if they could take a pill and then yoga was done, they'd do it. He goes, but that's not going to happen. And like it's simplicity,
Yes, and look, you are an amazing yoga teacher. But like you say, you practiced for all those years, and it was not whatever you started. It's not easy at the beginning, but find that thing that actually it's easy for you. Let's say, like, to get out of those very intense moments. For me, like I say, I remember it was at least walking for 10-15 minutes, going out.
Yeah.
Find the thing. Some people, they would say they would draw and get into art, and so start shifting the mindset and the body and the response to this nervous system.
Well, one of the things that's coming through loud and clear from a lot of trauma therapists is journaling, writing. And I know in her book, The Artist's Way, it's more like the free writing. And just because we don't believe that we're actually talking to anyone significant. So it's like, I'm writing this, but who's listening? It's like someone very important is listening, but journaling, writing is coming through in that stream of consciousness writing. Like you would even start like in my coaching with my coaching clients, I have them do the pages. And it's like, so you can set forms. You can say, I'm going to fill up 1 page every day. You can start. The ideal place is 3, but you can even say, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to say. This seems stupid.
Good.
This seems dumb. And then eventually you start to look forward. This is the feedback I get from coaching clients are like, thank you for forcing me to do pages. And then you get to review back because you have something tangible. Because we forget.
Yes.
We always seem to forget the good things, the positive steps and strides we are making. We remember the things that we suck at. We just, for some reason, we stay focused on that. But the pages, you can actually go back and look and it's like it's stunning where you were January 2023, what you wrote versus today. So now we're in review. We're reviewing like where were you, and it's like all the strides that we make. It's interesting again how we forget those. We're almost like trauma to me is like sugar.
Yes.
We're very addicted to it too, to be honest.
Yes, and then because your mind takes over those stories, you repeat, you know, this repetition, like you say before, a person will always start describing themselves. I come from this family, so I am this
We grew up poor, so I'm always worried about money.
Yes. So helping with the journaling, and I love what you just said. For me, it was not my first instinct to do it in those moments, but I had a therapist telling me, well, just what you said, just pill one word and two words, and I said, I don't know how to write, I'm not a writer. No, just try. The most amazing thing when I read that journal a year later, even 5 years later, and then I was like, how I could see as well, you can see your step going, moving forward, in your body if you start yoga, but then suddenly you can do that mountain pose beautifully. Same with the journal. And the beauty, but that's depend on anybody. I ended up reading so much, knowing about it, but there was so much tough thing, I burned it at the end.
No, and that's cathartic too.
It's the beautiful release that find that way as well of I'm letting go of all those stories finally. But it took me 10 years to burn it.
No, it makes. I still have. That was when I cleaned out my garage story of the ever-ending garage.
Yes.
It's like I found, but I have kept them. I'm in a different lens because I've been writing since I was like 5 or 6 years old. I wrote like Dear Diary, and to have that and to see the child in that. But for me, journaling, for some reason, I was a very quiet child, believe it or not. As much as I talk today, it's kind of crazy how quiet I actually was. So I was a natural writer. I wrote poetry and all of these things. So for me, the journals that I keep, I haven't been able to bring myself to burn them because my sons, and it just depends on the relationship that you have with your kids. I have such connection with my sons. They're just amazing human beings. If I pass tomorrow or whatever, I want them to know who their mom was. I want them to find my journals. I want them to read about all the things. So any questions or doubts or things, everybody's different though. Most people don't have this feeling, but for me, it'll be very cathartic for them about their mom's life, and so,
I appreciate, you see, so that's why we are saying you have your way.
My way.
And I had my way of doing that with that journal, and I don't have another one.
Let me ask you a question too, because this is another thing that, not sharing specifics with children, but, I'm very transparent with my children. They're aware of my triggers, my traumas, things, at least mentally top line. They understand what I've been through. Have you shared that? How, to what degree do you even just you working in a bar at a young age is kind of,
Yes, no, definitely. And I think it's beautiful, your transition, how as a mother, we can convey those harsh moments to your child without, as well, feeling it's just good enough what they know. So I'm more a storyteller with my mouth.
Yeah.
With my words.
But he's still getting the transmission.
And it's beautiful to see your child as they evolve. Of course, when he was 2-3 years old, there's so many things I couldn't say, but how I reacted, how I get nervous, how I can start losing it, yelling. But now, because he's a teenager turning 13, he asks questions, and that's how you have that beautiful moment. And when it's enough, it's enough. And I always tell him, I just read that, and you're doing it because I know your two beautiful sons. He's not responsible for my happiness.
Right.
He's
right.
not, and that's a big message. I kept on reading how to not transfer. I mean, if you can, not we transfer, but keep on saying you're not responsible when I have those moments again, or you're not responsible. I'm an adult now, and that's how it's easier to bring those stories without.
Well, some people won't even tell the story because they're like, well, I don't want them to know that I was up to no good in high school, so I'm not going to tell my kids that I was up to no good because they feel like it'll be thrown in their face. Because a lot of kids say, well, you did it, so then I'm going to do it. But if you earnestly, I honestly believe in transfer, if you earnestly share and say, this is why I'm so worried about you. I know what it's like to be a rogue and to do strange things. I hope you don't go down that path. But allowing them the spaciousness, the thing is like when you forbid something, then they actually want to rebel and do it, right? So
I agree.
But a lot of people won't tell the truth because they're like, well, I don't want them to turn out like me. But having that discussion, like why you feel the way that you feel, like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. Just do as I say. I
agree. And sadly, I believe, that's how you transfer actually more of your trauma and story, because there's a secret and the child wants to know.
But again,
I want to understand.
But just back to energy, Katya.
Yes, you're transmitting
You're right. The
it.
secret, we all are psychic and we all have this ability. We're clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient. We have a sixth sense.
Yes.
So this is why teens rebel. Like people said, my sons were so good at, just wait till they're teenagers. You'll see. And I'm like, I'm not saying crap because I knew them as persons. And I'm like, I'm not tolerant. I'm not double-minded. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, I didn't have any teenage problems. I think a lot of the problems with teenagers come through because of lack of transparency. The parents are saying one thing, doing one thing, and they're holding secrets. And we're all energetic. And it's like the rebellion comes because you can feel that there's a truth that's not there.
True.
Well, you got me riled up like,
but that's how we are.
And we grew up in that generation. Where do as I say, not as I do. I went nuts with the contradiction growing up.
Exactly. So your parents are saying something, and their energy is not right. There's something not going with that. And so. Really, being honest, I find it much easier. Okay, they were still palm. I don't want to get into those details, but about touch, sexual things when you had lived through. So it's harder to say to your child, but little by little they understand, and it's good for them to know. Or drugs. I just talked to my friend this morning. My son, they have to nowadays.
Yeah.
They have talk about drugs, what it does, how it is, and don't hide the fact that, come on, we were all younger.
Yeah.
I don't hide it. I was like, should I? No, because they're going to feel it and know. And actually, like you say, a secret is worse because they will go with what is forbidden. We all do that. Like, forbid something and you want to try
but again, they can feel it. They can feel the deception. They can feel that's, I think, we're energy workers.
Yes.
And that's why this is so important to just acknowledge that we all have receptors. We all have feelings and we have a gut, and walking away from that intuition, that gut level of intuition, that third eye energy, and sticking with what you know. This has been very powerful.
And thank you. Like you see, your teenager, you notice they go through easily if you're honest.
But I made an intention too. Like we started this conversation, I'm like, I'm not going to have teenage problems because as a teenager, yes, I'm just more of a, more, I was a good kid, let's say.
Yes.
My parents drove me nuts with their inconsistencies and their double talk and double-mindedness and all that. But I still I didn't rebel against it. because it's just how I'm wired. Everybody's
Yes.
wired differently too, but I saw the reason that I could have rebelled.
Yes.
Because I'm like, my brother and I laugh. We always say, we should be on drugs, we should be on alcohol, we should be on Skid Row, we should have been, there's so many things we should have, could have done because of how we were raised. But somehow, glory be to God, our, family prayers and all of that, we choose. Yeah,
you choose.
We are aware that we could have made those tougher choices.
Yes, and depending on your sensitivity and how you dealt with it. So it's amazing. Again, with your children, little by little, having those conversations actually release and relieve all of that, because we did, and me too. My childhood, how I grew up, I could have, but again, sports saved me in a good way.
Me too.
Find another way. I'm not saying your child as well, hopefully, is finding their way. But yes,
music, sports, all of these things. This turned into like kind of a parent thing, but this turned into good because we are transferring. We can transfer to our partners. Our partners can pick up, like, you say your partner's like, "What's up with you?" They're like, "Nothing. What are you talking? I'm fine. Like, would you tell your body that? Would you let your face know?
Exactly. Like we are talking to each other, being so truthful, and it's beautiful when you can find that in another human being.
Yes, it's so true.
Thank you.
To wrap up, behavior shapes our social habits, right? Trauma is what happened to you. Trauma is what happened to you, but it's not what happened inside of you, or it stays inside of you, right?
That's the good news.
It's what happened it shapes you as a result of what happened to you.
And that's the good news, because that's where the changes, it can happen.
And it truly is about resetting the nervous system.
Yes.
And I think this whole conversation is about how do you reset the nervous system. There's plenty of information about it.
Yes. Don't hesitate to continue asking us questions, DM us. We are here. We are enjoying so much sharing our wisdom and knowledge and senses. And from some good news, what's next?
So what's next is we're going to be at our retreat this weekend.
Yes.
Gosh, it's so exciting to do that. And
so many amazing practitioners.
You're going to be there. I'm so excited for you to share your mastery on the topic of crying. I can't wait for people to experience that. And
you sharing.
That's a good way to retreating, like
yes,
taking time away, peeling away, and being around like-minded people. And as it always happens, and during retreats, like I wish such and such could come. I wish this one could come. And people have different schedules, but it always winds up with the group that's supposed to be there. So I'm really excited for this one. This is going to be incredible. The setting is beautiful.
In Malibu,
the practitioners are great. So again, maybe healing retreats. It's important to peel away and spend time alone if you can.
Yes. And to be in that, I would say, neutral place that you have no attachment, you don't know anything about that place. It's good. And being with the group. Those helped us.
That's what we see in our full circles. Like the last full circle last week was amazing. Coming out of the gate into the new year, because you could see a woman said something. I won't say what she said, but a woman across the room said something. And I know a woman's story on the other side of the room, but it was powerful. In that instant, I saw that woman holding the space for the woman she didn't even know. I felt her energy move out. And that's the thing about gathering. Like, don't try to do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to do it alone.
Exactly. So this retreat this weekend,
I'm excited. And then our next live is on the 31st.
Yes.
We'll come back in February with our full moon. Is it the new moon? The new moon in Aquarius. And Pluto's returning after all these years, but the next thing on our gate is 131. We'll do another live energy medicine
So
talk.
in 2 weeks.
And then on the 8th, we are doing our new moon in Aquarius full circle, where you can join us live, where we do some of the healing things we talk about here.
So please come to South Pasadena.
South Pasadena.
It's
in the middle of everything.
Exactly.
It's a spider. It's got legs. Beverly Hills, downtown LA, blah, blah, blah.
And the room again, the Women's Club is beautiful and it's worth the drive. I have to drive to come here.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get so much from being with the group as well, even though we are the practitioner and teaching, we are receiving. And
now it's one time a month. It's just one time a month. We were trying to do it twice, but it's one time per month for now.
Yes.
But
and
it
live
is
twice.
Powerful, powerful, powerful.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody who joined. Really appreciate you tuning in and listening in the conversation.
Jen,
thank you, Katya.
You're welcome.
Always. You're always amazing. Wow. Dynamic conversation.
And don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Yes,
because I mean, you are a giver. We are sharing our knowledge and listening to you. So thank you for being with us.
Yes, thank you. Have a great, great week and namaste.
À bientôt.